Hello and welcome. You're watching News Now with me, Fidelia Aguncha. The Senate has announced that it will pass the 2019 appropriation bill on April 16, 2019. Leader of the Red Chamber, Bukola Saraki, gave the date during plenary on Tuesday, saying the bill will be passed after the Appropriation Committee submits its report between April 9 and 11. Tuesday's plenary is the first in 2 weeks following a break by the National Assembly to enable ministries, departments and agencies defend their budget before the various committees. The 8.82 trillion naira budget has a recurrent expenditure of 4 trillion naira, while 2 trillion naira goes for capital expenditure, with 2.2 trillion naira and 492 billion naira for debt servicing and statutory transfers, respectively. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has rejected 8 bills transmitted to him for assent by the National Assembly. In a letter read on the floor of the Senate, the president gave reasons for rejecting the bills. The development brings to 20 the number of bills Buhari has rejected since the start of 2019. Tunji Oye now reports.
It was a short plenary that lasted for just about an hour. The main issue of the day was supposed to be the submission of different committees working on the 2019 budget, but many of the committees are yet to complete their assignment. The committees requested for extra 2 weeks to conclude work on the budget, but the Senate president declined.
We have less than 10 committees that have submitted their reports. We actually requested that they should submit the reports by last week, but since we don't have it, we're extending it to Friday this week, latest. So we are asking for maybe 2 weeks. We're asking for 2 weeks.
Latest by Thursday of that week. But we should be back here on the 9th to reconvene and hopefully lay the report that week of the 9, 10, and 11, and latest pass this budget by the 16th. I think this is because we have the Easter break coming as well. We don't have that luxury of time.
The Senate President Bukola Saraki stressed that time is of essence in the passage of the 2019 budget. Saraki said the Senate will not accept reports from any committee that did not submit by Friday, 5th of April 2019. The Senate President also read letters from President Muhammadu Buhari declining assent to 8 bills passed by the lawmakers. Prominent of the bills is the 1 billion Ajaokuta Steel Company Completion Fund, the National Housing Fund Bill, the Federal Mortgage of Nigerian Bill, amongst others.
Yes, distinguished Senate President, presidential decision to decline assent to the Ajaokuta Steel Company Completion Fund Bill 2018. Pursuant to Section 58(4) of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, I hereby convey to the Senate my decision on 19 March 2019 to decline presidential assent to the Ajaokuta Steel Company Completion Fund Bill 2018, recently passed by the National Assembly. I am declining assent to the bill because appropriating 1 billion from the excess crude account is not the best strategic option for Nigeria at the time of budgetary constraints.
The Senate also observed a minute silence for Honorable Member from Kebbi State, Mohammed Dantani, who died recently.
I want to sadly inform us of the death of one of our colleagues from the House of Representatives. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Honorable Mohammed Dantani, who represented Yauri Shanga Ngaski, Federal Constituency of Kebbi State, died on Thursday, the 28th day of March 2019, after a brief illness.
The Senate is to reconvene on Tuesday night, April 2019. From Abuja, Tunji Oye, TV360 News.
The Senate has screened 30 people nominated by President Muhammadu Buhari as members of the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission. The 30 members were drawn from the 6 geopolitical zones across the country. Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly Matters, Ita Enang, while presenting the nominees to the Senate committee, said he can confirm that those nominated are worthy of the post.
Among the nominees are the immediate past chairman, former deputy governors, former members of the House of Representatives, former legislators at different cadre and former vice chancellors. Mr. Chairman, let me also thank the Senate, because this is one of the fastest attention given to nominations of Mr. President. And this is due to improved relations between the executive and the legislature. And also thank the members of the committee, because I know that they were all involved in the elections. Even during the elections, we were all working together to make sure that all their credentials are before you. All the nominees here, they have all gone through the security screening with the state services. They have all gone through the fingerprint search. They have all been done their due process with the code of conduct. So every documentation that is needed to be with you is made with you. I want to say that we will, and we assure you that as you screen and approve them, and the Senate approves them, they will give the country the best representation.
To electoral matters now, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, is taking an early lead in the Rivers governorship election as INEC resumes collation of results for the March 9 polls. The results are being announced by the state resident electoral commissioner, Obo Efang. So far, the result from 5 local government areas have been announced, with the PDP leading in 4 of the 5 LGAs. The poll is closely contested by the PDP and the AAC. Incumbent Governor Nyesom Wike, who is the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, is seeking a second term in office. Meanwhile, an Abuja High Court has dismissed a suit filed by the African Action Congress, AAC, which seeks to stop INEC from collating the results of the governorship and House of Assembly elections held in Rivers State on March 9. The suit was filed by the party's governorship candidate in the state, Biokpo Mabu Awara, against INEC and the PDP. In his ruling on Tuesday, the judge Iang Eko held that since the case was related to election, it was appropriate for the plaintiff to refer it to an election tribunal.
The court agrees with us that that is the position, that issues raised by AAC and Awara are issues of post-election, and that the best way to go is for them to go to the tribunal. And so the court dismissed the case of AAC and Awara and upheld the objection of PDP. And that is the position. And with the judgment of the court, INEC in Rivers State is free to collect and announce the result of the winner of the election conducted on the 9th of March 2019. There is no hurdles for INEC again, so INEC is free to announce the winner of that election.
I want to sound it clear because at this point in time, we know that this matter is still in court. Our view remains that it will not be proper for INEC to continue to take any steps with a matter that is already in court. The matter is sub judice until the court takes a decision one way or the other. I don't think it will be proper for INEC to still continue to do anything with regards to that election. I don't think it's proper. But be that as it may be, we are aware that today the Independent Electoral Commission has started or has put in motion machinery to continue with the collation of results in Rivers State.
Still on judicial matters, the examination malpractice and certificate forgery case against Senator Ademola Adeleke was today stalled due to the absence of the prosecution. The case, which is being tried at the Federal High Court in Abuja, has now been adjourned to April 3rd. Adeleke is the candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the Osun State governorship election, which held last year.
The matter couldn't go on, but it was adjourned for 3 days already, today, tomorrow, and next tomorrow. But the prosecutor asked for a stand down till 10 o'clock. So it's just because he couldn't come. So the judge agreed that we should come back tomorrow.
The Nigeria Police Force has revealed the names and photographs of the alleged killers of Kolade Johnson, a Lagos resident who was killed by operatives of the police force. The police identified the suspect as Inspector Olalekan Ogunyemi and Sergeant Godwin Oji, both attached to the anti-cultism squad. Both men have been detained are currently under investigation. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari and Senate President Bukola Saraki have extended their condolence to the family of the deceased. The Commissioner of Police for Lagos State, Zubairu Mauzu, has also paid a courtesy visit to the family, promising that justice will be done. The Air Task Force of Operation Lafia Adole says its troops have degraded some hideout of ISWAP terrorists in Borno State. In a statement by its spokesperson, Air Commodore Ibikunle Daramola, the force said it also neutralized some ISWAP leaders and fighters at Magari on the fringe of Lake Chad. Daramola explained that the raid was carried out during an interdiction mission conducted on April 1st following credible intelligence reports indicating that some senior ISWAP leaders and fighters arrived at the settlement last Friday. ISWAP is affiliated with the Boko Haram terrorist sect who have waged war against Western education, killing thousands and displacing millions. As part of its corporate social responsibility program, faith-based organization Daystar Christian Center has donated 10 million naira to the United Nations Refugee Agency to solve the issue of displacement in Nigeria. Aneta Felix was at a check handover ceremony and now reports.
A total of 2.3 million people are displaced within Nigeria. Hundreds more are refugees in other countries. Bodies like the United Nations Refugee Agency is tasked with rehabilitating people, but they can't do it alone.
Only 1% of our budget comes from the central UN, 90% comes from donor governments, and 9% from individuals like you and wonderful institutions like Daystar. And last year, from wonderful efforts like this, we raised $423 million across the world. And I'm very proud, incredibly proud, first as a person of faith, but also as an African, to say that truly, Daystar Christian Center is the first church to throw its weight behind this cause.
People need a shelter. All they do is actually take strings of their clothes and put over some branches and sleep in there with their children, with their wives, with their husbands, everybody with no privacy, no dignity. And then food. People need food. People need health. People need education.
At this event, Daystar Christian Center is donating 10 million naira to the UNHCR towards salvaging people from conflict and other social anomalies. The founder of the church, Pastor Sam Adeyemi, says he considers it a privilege to help in solving one of Africa's biggest challenges.
For us, it's a culture for us in our church to address people's problems in practical ways. While we preach, the Bible tells us if we really love our brothers, it won't be enough for us to preach to them and pray for them. We need to do something, like Jesus Christ did. We were amazed to hear, how bad the issue of displaced people is. We were so moved and touched, we committed right away to be a part of it in every way, not just only in giving money, but visiting the camps around the world.
Pastor Adeyemi also called on the church to fulfill their mandate of reaching out to people in need by carrying out humanitarian projects.
We'd just like to say first to the church community that people's problems are actually our own opportunities to bring the power of God and the resources at our disposal to meet those practical needs. That is why the church exists. So we want to say to the church community, this is another dimension to the problems Jesus called us to solve. In our own country, there are 2.2 million people that have lost their homes, lost their means of living. They need help. They need food, they need blankets, they need health care. The needs are dire. Apart from that, they've experienced trauma. They need therapy, and we want to ask the church community, let's step in. This is Africa, our own blood. And beyond that, all over the world, let's intervene as much as we can.
About 1 million people remain inaccessible to the UNHCR due to challenges like security and funding. But donations like this will go a long way to help victims of conflicts and natural disasters in Africa. Aneta Felix, TV360, Lagos.
Well, still to come is news from the world of business. Don't go away.
House the crash launch was a request to the lights of the government, not signified.
and Nigerians have reacted.
area of Lagos as early as 7
will some minutes say the incident has been managed.
This morning, we have
Welcome back. Well, let's now join Oyin Adekunle for the latest in the world of business. Hello, Oyin.
Hi, Fidelia.
So tell us, what is making headlines today?
Well, analysts in Nigeria have been reacting to the possible effects of Brexit on the nation and the African continent as a whole. With the deadline for the deal drawing nearer, uncertainty clouds the face of major beneficiaries and British trade partners across the world. This next report tells us more.
With just 2 weeks left to the April 12 deadline for Brexit, the fate of Britain still hangs in the balance as members of parliament again fail to find a majority on any alternative Brexit plan. But as the countdown begins, the focus is now shifting from post-Brexit effects on the British economy to the impact on Africa. For a continent which uses the UK as a conduit into the rest of Europe, Brexit will most likely have an effect on the African economy. But the question on the mind of many is, how would this play out?
You're going to see a situation where the European Union will take very drastic measures that will work against Britain. Then we should also see a lot of shift by institutional investors away from London, which currently is the financial capital of Europe. You are going to see a situation where African economies will no longer, in the short term, be able to get a kind of funding, particularly portfolio investors that come from Britain to Africa. So you might see a situation where those investors will first of all focus on the European countries instead of focusing on Africa.
But why is Britain so important, and why does it wield so much power?
The British economy is one of the top 10 economies in the world. In Europe, if you look at the European common currency areas, the Eurozone and then Britain all added together, the entire Western Europe, or even the entire European countries, Britain is one of the top 4 economies in Europe. So this effect of Britain, beyond that, Britain is London is the financial capital of Europe, and therefore a lot of fund flow going to other countries outside of Europe emanate or originate from London. So the importance of Britain in the financial architecture of the world is so great that there are only 2 or 3 other financial centers of the world, which are New York and Tokyo. But if you look at that, you can actually observe that Britain actually has a preeminent position when it comes to financial flow in the entire economic world.
While Brexit will have a level of impact on Africa as a whole, the effects, however, will vary from country to country, with some taking bigger hits.
The South African economy has a stronger linkage with the British economy. South African exports, the percentage of South African export goes to Britain. So should anything happen to British economy, it's going to have a direct impact to the South African economy. Nigeria doesn't have that level of interlinkage with the British economy today.
But in every cloud, there is a silver lining. This expert believes that the post-effect of Brexit on Africa will be weathered by the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement if signed on time.
The balance of economic power will shift when the African Continental Free Trade Agreement comes into place, because the fact that Africans trade of goods and services between African countries will be without any customs duty imposition will entail that goods manufactured in Africa will trade cheaply in Africa, and there will be free movement of goods and services within African continents. If it gets into operation, I do not imagine that a Brexit will affect it. Rather, it should be a cushion for African countries against any global economic financial crisis, so that trade between African countries increases, and so that Africans will first interact with themselves before interact with the outside world.
Britain is now in a race against time to secure approval from Parliament on the divorce terms Prime Minister Theresa May has struck with the European Union. Failure to do this could mean the country crashing out without a deal. Fidelia Aguncha, TV360, Nigeria.
Oil prices climbed to nearly 5-month highs on Tuesday, supported by firm Chinese economic data that eased demand concerns, the possibility of more sanctions against Iran, and further Venezuelan supply disruptions. Brent crude rose 15 cents to $69.16 a barrel, while U.S. futures rose 14 cents to $61.73 a barrel, after earlier rising above $62 for the first time since early November. Positive data from the world's biggest economies, the United States and China, boosted prices, with China's manufacturing sector unexpectedly returning to growth for the first time in 4 months. We'll be reviewing activities on the stock market right after this break. Please stay tuned. Equity transactions at the Nigerian Stock Exchange is extending its bearish run, down by 0.99%, with the market capitalization equally depreciating by about 400 million naira to close at 11.353 billion naira. Looking at the percentage laggards today, Nestle, Better Glass, Nigeria Breweries, and Unilever PLC. Looking at this table, we see that the chart is about the same way it appeared yesterday, with Nestle, Better Glass, and Nigeria Breweries continuing with their losing streak, except for Unilever, which joins the worst performing stock today with an 8.46% decline. Meanwhile, let's see the stocks gaining despite the overall loss in the market today. Dangote Cement, Dangote Sugar, Ikeja Hotel, and Stanbic IBTC all making it to the gainers chart this week, except for Ikeja Hotel, which was on the chart yesterday. All others are making it to the chart for the first time this week. This time, Ikeja Hotel is gaining 2 kobo, which left it to close at 9.71%. In all, level of activities was a lot better than previous trading session. Investors exchanged a total of 376.947 million shares in 4,018 deals. The value of shares traded by investors also leapt significantly from the 3.68 billion in previous session to 4.536 billion naira this time. On the foreign scene, we see that U.S. stocks actually rose by 100 points as treasuries resume rally. FTSE is on its 6-month high owing to stronger economic data and Brexit pressure, which continues to take its toll on the pound. Nikkei is down from its 1-month high, led by dwindling equities in the manufacturing sector of the economy. That's all on stock market review today. It's back to you, Fidelia.
Oh, thank you so much, Oyin, for that review of the stock market. It seems the NSE is continuing the bearish trend, which dominated the whole of trading for the month of March, and the second quarter for the year is not starting any better. We hope for better days for investors at the stock market. Still to come is news from the foreign and sports scene after this break. Stay with us. Welcome back. 598 people have died and over 1,400 have been affected by a cholera outbreak after Cyclone Idai swept through southern African country of Mozambique 2 weeks ago. In a chat with TV360 Nigeria, the United Nations representative to Nigeria and the ECOWAS, Antonio Kayandula, says the UN Refugee Agency have sent aid and other vital relief items to this country and are helping to rescue the survivors.
In Mozambique today, we are still struggling with it. You must have heard that there was a bout of cholera.
Yes.
After the floods. We're still dealing with that. We are asking for help, but Mozambique is a rich country as well. So you have that contradiction where on the one hand, you're asking, please help, and on the other, you actually have resources that could have helped you organize yourself better, because it's not the first flood and it's not going to be the last.
Well, let's now talk sports. The Nigeria Football Federation has released a new date for elections into the boards of State Football Association in the country. This was made known at an extraordinary General Assembly of the Federation with all 44 members of the NFF present. The decision was unanimously ratified after a motion moved to that effect by former NFF First Vice President and Chairman of the Imo State Football Association, Mazi Amanze Uchegbulam. The NFF have suspended the election against the backdrop of the nationwide elections which took place between February and March 2019. And that's the latest from our station, Lagos, Nigeria on News Now. Thank you so much for watching. I am Fidelia Aguncha. Bye for now.